Now, more than 500 firearms were reported lost from South African police services in the 2018-2019 financial year. Police Minister Bheki Cele has revealed this in a written reply to a parliamentary question from the Freedom Front Plus leader Pieter Groenewald. Joining us on the line now is Police Ministry spokesperson Lirandzu Themba. Lirandzu, thanks very much indeed for joining us. The police must be alarmed at such a high number of firearms going missing.
Afternoon to you, Peter. Well, I think it's also very important to put into context the fact that this number is really a reflective of about 0.3% of state-issued firearms that are within the SAPS offices. We know that there's about 150 officers that are operating and that are using firearms. So I think it's very important to just put it into context as to the amount of firearms that have gone missing, as you put it. But of course, one firearm missing is one firearm too many, as you can imagine. But it is also quite worth noting that it is a drop compared to the previous financial year, where we saw about 785 of these firearms going missing in the last previous year.
Do we know how and why they're going missing?
Well, there's many and very different circumstances, Peter. Some cases, officers come under attack while they're reporting to a scene and subsequently are ambushed and their firearms are stolen. I mean, as you can imagine, the nature of the work that they are faced with, they often find themselves in harm's way and are targeted many a times for their firearms. But also, we also get situations where officers' homes are being broken into, and their service pistols are taken, during a robbery and so forth. So it's many various and varied instances how these firearms go missing. And of course, and unfortunately, there are also firearms that are going missing inside police stations as well.
Could some of this be corruption within the police force itself?
Those are the things that have been constantly investigated, Peter. I mean, as we stand now, and according to the parliamentary reply from the minister, 26 officers have been nabbed and successfully prosecuted for theft and negligence because of the missing firearms. And this, by the way, is just on this year alone, this financial year alone. And just in terms of civilians, 49 such people have been also successfully prosecuted for the theft of firearms as well as ammunition. So it could be a combination, but also there is measures that have been put in place. And of course, as I've just told you, prosecutions that are obviously coming forward.
The Freedom Front Plus says that 4,357 firearms have been lost in the last 6 years, 9.5 million rounds of ammunition. This is huge, Lirandzu.
It is, Peter, but we also have to just take into mind that, and this is what the minister was really emphasizing on, is that there is a broader recovery plan that is currently underway by the SAPS. And this recovery plan is not only just to recover firearms from the service or from the system of the police, but also just illegal firearms, even in private hands. And this recovery plan, as I am told, and you'll understand that I am a week in this job, but I've had a conversation with the minister who says that the plan is to recoup all guns and, of course, put in place accountability, Peter. Of course, proper consequential management has to be put in place here. It can't be that firearms go missing, ammunition goes missing, and nothing is being done. I think it's also very important to note that police have to be aware that there are consequences if they're found to be negligent. If they're found to be negligent, and they will face 2 probes. And one of these investigations is a departmental one, and another one is a criminal one. And of course, this is a very reason why, as I've mentioned earlier, we've seen 26 officers that have been successfully prosecuted for theft and negligence.
The other trend that's coming through is that the highest number of losses seem to keep on happening in KwaZulu-Natal. What is peculiar to that province?
Yes, we're seeing about 142 guns that were stolen in that very province. And of course, this has been happening, it seems as though it is a trend throughout the years. The reason behind the losses, not only in just that province, but also in the Eastern Cape and the northern provinces, is due to poor accounting and non-submissions of forms that are critical to the maintenance of firearms and the auditing of firearms. And this is the very reason why one of the interventions that have been put in place, Peter, is to basically improve the registration of firearms. And this would be done in the form of stock taking. So there will be an annual stock taking of firearms at police level. I mean, this is very important. But of course, it is also just about education and awareness for officers. And this is the very reason why there is going to also be an improvement in how officers are going to be storing their firearms. And of course, the buying and issuing of safes. This is going to be very critical in how members actually store their firearms when they are in a police station and, of course, when they are at home. But what's very important that I should mention, Peter, is how the police service is now going to be installing cameras at police stations to basically better handle the storing or the storage of firearms at police level. So those are some of the measures, very many measures that have been put in place to make sure that this figure of 500, not only does it go down, but it gets to a point where it's just a double digit, if not nothing at all. But that's what really is being worked on through the various provinces.
Have you been able to track how many of these missing guns are showing up in crimes later on?
That's one of the questions that was posed to the minister about, how many of these guns are actually being used to commit a crime, Peter. And just going through the written response by the minister, well, it really does speak to the fact that they are being recovered, as we have mentioned. Just to even give you a figure right now, that from the ones that have been stolen, let's just say this, from 2013-2014 financial year to this current financial year, 2018-2019, about 1,032 firearms have been recovered, for example. And this is in comparison to 4,357 of them that were stolen within that time. So there is an effort to recover those guns. They are still being tallied as to how many of those are being used, because as I've said to you earlier on, that because of the line of work that police officers often find themselves in, they are in harm's way, they are being targeted for their weapons, and those weapons unfortunately are being used for aggravated robbery and for all these trio crimes that we're seeing being quite stubborn in the country. So it is one of those that there is a recovery program that's at hand that is trying to really get as many of those firearms out of the wrong hands, essentially. But not only just in the service, Peter, but also, as I've mentioned, also in private hands.
I'm reading another disturbing report about the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, and they've got 700 firearms missing or unaccounted for. Are you speaking with other enforcement authorities to try and have a maybe joint approach in trying to deal with this problem? Because clearly it's probably the same people that are stealing from the police and from the Metro Police.
It has to be a combination of efforts and putting together of minds to try and get to the bottom of this, Peter. But that is obviously an operational issue that I'm pretty sure the SAPS in the different provinces will be able to happily expand on. But it's very important to note that such incidents and such reports, as you've mentioned, can't be tackled on just one facet. It needs to be one that is thought out through, but more than anything, it is tackled from different angles. And this would also include just roping in the services and the minds of the various local metro police departments. But it is work in progress. There are strides that have been made. As I've said, there is consequences and interventions that have been put in place. But also, I think it's very important to tell our South Africans and your viewers out there that just compared to the 150,000 firearms that are there, it is a 0.3% that have gone missing, and I think I have adequately explained the various reasons behind those circumstances.
All right, we'll leave it there, Lirandzu. Thanks very much indeed for your update.